US, French, German, Italian and British national security advisors discussed ways to hold Russia accountable for the Kremlin-led war against Ukraine.
Russia's sovereign assets in their nation's jurisdictions will remain immobilized until Russia pays for the damage it has caused to Ukraine and examined further ways to hold Russia accountable for the destruction it has brought in its illegal war, from a statement on the White House website.
Earlier, France blocked the funds of the Russian Central Bank in the amount of 22 billion euros, as well as about 150 million euros in the accounts of Russian businessmen. Currently, about 200 billion euros of Russian assets are frozen in the world's largest Belgian payment company, Euroclear. 180 billion are the reserves of the Russian Central Bank. Western governments are looking for ways to legally monetize all of these assets to help Ukraine.
It is important to remember that the assets that states confiscate within their jurisdiction, these countries will use not for their own enrichment, but to compensate for the victims for whom Russia is already guilty. Therefore, even if the Russian Federation sues, I do not see a scenario in which it could win. Yulia Ziskina, legal advisor of the organization Razum for Ukraine, in an interview with Voice of America.
Washington plans to increase pressure on Moscow by imposing additional sanctions, writes CNN, citing a senior US official.
The preparations of further economic punishments come as cracks emerge in Russia's economy and society because of the war in Ukraine and sanctions from the West, from a CNN publication.
According to former CIA Director David Petraeus, the United States and their allies must work as quickly as possible to provide military assistance to Ukraine and cause maximum damage to the Russian economy.
So are the sanctions that we've led the way on with our Western partners. But we do need to do more, and we do need to have a greater sense of urgency about some of these issues that have just been hanging fire waiting for key decisions.
While Kyiv's allies are discussing tightening restrictions on the Putin regime, Moscow intends to offer Western investors to exchange their blocked assets in Russia for Russian ones in the West, writes the Financial Times.
According to the proposal, Moscow will provide interested Western investors with the opportunity to acquire the assets of Russian companies that have been immobilized in Europe using their own funds held in closed accounts in the Russian Federation that cannot be used outside of the country, from Financial Times publication.
At the same time, Western officials told the publication that they are not aware of this offer and are not conducting any negotiations regarding a potential asset swap. Reported by Serhiy Kulas, Christina Dombrovska, UATV News.